It's July 18th, 2022. I wanted to do a little walkthrough here of the edible trailhead kind of area here at the DeYoung, I think it's called the DeYoung Trailhead, just outside of Traverse City. Yesterday there was a beautiful memorial here for my friend Jonathan Aylward, who was heavily involved in this trailhead and edible trails project, and that was kind of one of his passions in life. And he took his own life this last winter, tragically. He was a hell of a nice guy, super enthusiastic, everybody who spoke yesterday just couldn't say enough good about him. He was a wonderful human being. So it's very sad that we lost him, but we can see some of his good works here and enjoy, hopefully many people will enjoy this stuff for years to come, because it's all here and planted and it's growing. I think it started about 7 or 8 years ago. And so now some things are really coming to fruition and there's some stuff to harvest. So we'll kind of look from this direction. The parking area is over here. You come in off the main road this way, and there's a water fountain kind of looking down the trail here. So that's going toward Traverse City. And I think this will be going out onto the peninsula or something. I don't really know the lay of the land here. Okay, excuse me. Got cherries here. We've got lots of Nanking cherries. And this side, I should preface this by saying this is also very poor sandy soil. The plant mixture looks a lot like what I've got at my house, my garden. You've got knapweed, some quackgrass. You've got Nanking cherries, milkweed. Got sorrel. There's not a lot of stuff in the understory here necessarily. It's I'm gonna redo this. Okay, we're gonna start again here. We're looking at this edible trails project here that my friend Jonathan Aylward was involved with. This is at the DeYoung Natural Area north of Traverse City. And so the idea here was to take a little kind of triangle of space. It's probably, I don't know, a quarter acre or something maybe, and plant a bunch of stuff that people could eat and browse from as they come in and off the parking area here onto the bicycle and walking trail. There's also a beautiful lake down this little thing, maybe a few hundred feet. That's toward Traverse City that way. So yeah, this is a nice area, but it's got very dry sandy soil like my site has. And so it's interesting to observe what's growing and how it's growing. I guess these plantings were put in 2007 or 8 maybe, and maybe weren't given tons of attention initially or in some of the years in between, but they've recently been remulched and the trails are very nice and they're looking pretty good. You know, it's I'm sure a lot of stuff has died, some stuff may have been replanted, but it's looking great to me. Just to give you kind of a sense of some of the stuff that's here. Got a little serviceberry, there's some comfrey around, something that might have passed away, some wild roses, got bush cherries, Nanking cherries. This tall thing is probably a tree cherry or maybe a peach. Got American plums, you've got sand cherries beyond that, yasta berries, gooseberries, lots of gooseberries, beautiful ones. That is a mulberry tree. I think it's maybe a grafted mulberry tree. But there's not tons of stuff in the understory here, and that's a maintenance problem. When you plant something like this, finding knowledgeable maintenance people who can know what to mow and what not to mow is always a challenge. So you don't see tons of complexity there. It's a lot of grass. You got some St. John's wort there, comfrey everywhere that could be chopped and dropped. Looks like some lavender there. Lots of beautiful milkweed. I'll just kind of walk you through some of this stuff. Yarrow. Looks like big blue stem grass here, maybe more comfrey. So I'm guessing in places like this where there's just an herb growing, probably there was a tree there that died. But that happens a lot, that's par for the course, especially on a tough site like this. Got some serviceberries here. More of these beautiful gooseberries. There's all kinds, many different varieties of gooseberries. Some of them are extremely large. These things are huge. I don't know if you can see with my hand here, but very sizable and very delicious too. Been eating some of these. I thought gooseberries were just really tart. I haven't eaten that many, to be honest, but these have a nice sweetness to them once they get darker in color. Got lots of black currants along the path here. Quite a few of those, probably a few different varieties. This looks like another nice sized serviceberry, Nanking cherry. There are some Nanking cherries up here that have a good fruit set on them still, so I will walk over and show you those. But yeah, these things are just bent down with fruit. It's really nice to see that. I think plant labeling has been a challenge. I don't see any labels that have endured to be legible anyway. I see some little placards where there probably was a label at one time. Here you've got a rose of some sort growing with a prunus, probably an American plum. Right here, I don't know if there was something painted on here. It doesn't look like it was routed, but in any case, it's not legible anymore. The stake is still solid, so it's not. Probably they use treated wood. There's some roses. I think a lot of American plum, more gooseberries, horseradish. What is this thing? Probably another American plum. You've got some comfrey and some things in the understory. I'm surprised not to see some fruit on more of these American plums because they seem like they're large enough to flower, and there's a lot of individuals here. So I would think in the next few years they would start having a pretty good fruit crop. Nice old barn here in this parking area. This is a nannyberry. Well, actually here you can see in this, because it's partly shaded, or maybe somebody's rewritten it, but with a marker, it says nannyberry there. So nannyberries sucker out over time. Cool, interesting plants and neat fruit. There's a few fruits on this one. There's a few of these planted. These will turn black, basically dark purple, black, glossy. They taste like a spiced date paste to my palate. Got some sand cherries, something that died there. There's some Nanking cherries. We'll walk over and see those in a minute. Black currants. So this has got a label. You know, some of this stuff's probably been replanted, maybe even this year, as they were kind of prepping for Jonathan's memorial. But yeah, you can see nice rings of mulch. You've got a few understory things. There's some ground cover thyme over there. Well, this is a plum, and it's got fruit on it. So yeah, this one did get pollinated. That's good. Glad to see that. Whoops. Yeah, the trails are in nice condition right now. It's nice. I look forward to seeing this in a few years as it grows up a little bit more and there's even more three-dimensionality to it. Another gooseberry. They've used lead plant here as a nitrogen fixer. Interesting. That's a good choice. I've tried that at my site. It didn't do all that well. I've got its cousin, Amorpha fruticosa, which is false indigo. It's a bigger, woodier plant. It does not have the kind of fuzzy quality that this whole plant has, that downy look to it. But that fruticosa flowers a lot earlier, and it's already making seeds now. I'd like to have both of them in good quantity, but I don't. There's a Nanking cherry, serviceberry. Looks like a grape. I don't know if that's a wild grape or intentional grape. Another nannyberry. There's some nice fruiting Nanking cherries along that path there. We were enjoying some of those yesterday. These are some red currants here. Also heavy fruit. Now this is a smaller fruited variety, or it could just be that in drought they don't grow very big. But yeah, tart but good. Entrance here, another entrance. Got plum, blackcurrant, more currants, Juneberry, something with comfrey around it. Looks like they did chop the comfrey here, roughly. That says Saskatoon, so you can still kind of read that sign. The Sharpies, in my experience, don't last more than a year at best. They might have written that even this spring. So here's a comfrey in a little island of its own. I'll bet that there was probably a woody perennial here at one time. Or no, I'm sorry, I missed it. This is looks like a pear tree. So yeah, not growing real vigorously, but again, these sites are challenging. The landform here is interesting. It's kind of got some ups and downs. It's a little bit rolling. I don't know if they shaped this at all, or if this is just how it was. But it's an interesting thing to walk through. Here's a nice established nannyberry bush. and it's got fruit on it. Pretty good fruit set. So it'd be nice. I don't know if, this is called an edible trailhead, so hopefully people realize that every berry growing in here is something they can eat. If you go across the trail, there are things growing there that you can't eat, but within this area, there's all good stuff. Looks like oh, this must be a type of native cherry, maybe. It doesn't look like wild black cherry. Maybe that's one of the red fruited ones. There's some nice hazelnuts here. Got a hazelnut over there. Nanking cherry. That Nanking cherry died. I've had a lot of dieback on mine as well. Got some sorrel and maybe monarda there. Nanking cherry. More milkweed. Some ground cherry. I don't know if that's planted or incidental, but that is edible. Fruits of it. Nanking cherry. Another plum. A nice old apple tree here. I wonder if this was something somebody, I don't know the history of this trail. A lot of these used to be train tracks, and people might have thrown an apple core out of a train. And as I've done bike tours up north, and anywhere really, you see a lot of old wild fruit trees growing alongside the trail. I don't see a bunch of other apple trees, so I don't know if this is an orchard remnant. I don't know if you could even see a graft. Probably not something this old. But yeah, cool, ragged old tree. So just to give you a sense of the scale and the plantings here at this DeYoung Trailhead area. Thanks to Jonathan and Levi and all the others who were involved in this. It's a beautiful, inspiring little plot. It could easily be replicated. All this plant material, a lot of these things either sucker or they're easy to root from cuttings. So you could easily make copies of a lot of this stuff and plant, 100 more of these things everywhere. I missed these the first time through. There's some black raspberries here, and there's some others over here. So yeah, I would say mostly soft fruit. There's a few nuts, a few larger fruits, but the plantings, it's an interesting palette. Hazelnut here. That looks like a serviceberry that had some dieback and resprouting. Got a rhubarb. More black currants, more comfrey. A little currant there. Yeah, very heavy on the currants, which inspires me to see how well they're growing here. I had not planted very many at my garden, thinking that they needed, or that they would really prefer to have a little bit of shade. And I didn't really have any shade, so I didn't. I kind of held off, thinking I would plant those later on in this as things grew up. And now things are growing up. I do have a little bit of shade, so I think I'm going to try to start getting and propagating more currants, because it's been very cool to see how they grow here for them. And at my friend Levi's house, I took a video earlier. Amazing growth on his currants and gooseberries, excuse me. Okay, well, thank you, Jonathan, for all of your work. It is appreciated. I've been enjoying the fruits along with many other people, and may it continue to flourish for decades to come and be a model, an inspiring model for 1,000 other similar gardens. Okay, thank you.